You know the phrase that pays. Hello from somewhere. What do they say in Tron? Greetings programs. Welcome back to Pencil to Pencil. Not pencil, 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 T-O pencil. I haven't said that in a while. Your weekly live cast brought to you by expert cartoonist. Pinch me, I must be dreaming. There's only so many places one could be at 8 o'clock p.m. EST on a Wednesday night. I'm glad you're here with us, watching us through your video scope. Just to let you guys know before I go any further, some people might be a little weirded out. It's like, what's wrong with my device? Why is my orientation funky? So StreamYard introduced this new thing where now we're splitting streams. Didn't Egon say don't cross the streams? So there was a vertical stream and a horizontal stream. Whatever you clicked on, if it doesn't work, click out, go back to our YouTube channel and pick the right one, because you got the right one, baby. Thank you very much. Yes, did I mention that this is a creative live cast brought to you by Expert Cartoonists? I think I did. Did I also say that these three expert cartoonists, you know them in the streets by their smiling angelic countenances? And also, you ready for this one, Steve? Their matinee idol good looks and lantern jaws. That's right. That's right. Let's do some introductions. Guys, I'm your first host. My name is Jamar Nicholas. Besides this hat, I wear many others. I am on the board of the National Cartoonist Society and also the chapter chair of Philadelphia. Well, the birds need to go somewhere. They're stinking this year. On top of those things, I also have a graphic novel series at Scholastic Graphics. Leon Extraordinary is the name. The newest book will be out this time next year. Cop it, why don't you? And I did not tell you the title because that is to be continued. Guys, I would be remiss if I did not introduce my cohort, co-conspirator, and co-conquistador. I know we've been talking about him holding titles all across the globe, like in Mexico, the United States, and other hemispheres. But also, I would be remiss if I did not also remind you that you would not like to get this man angry. You would not like to cross him in the rain trying to fix a tire on the side of the road, because when the jack breaks, he might turn green. Bill Bixby. Guys, I would love to introduce you to one of my best buds. He is known as, by God, it's Stone Cold Steve Conley. What's up, Steve Conley?
Gentlemen, it is
Yes.
so good to see you. A startling metamorphosis may occur. My my name is Steve Conley. I'm a cartoonist and a TTRPG creator. You may know my webcomic, The Middle Age. It's your 17th favorite webcomic. You can find it over at Webtoons, Tapas, Go Comics, and over at middleagecomic.com. I also make TTRPG stuff. You want to check out my latest D&D book? It's over on the Kickstarter right now. It's called The Stabracadabra. It's doing quite well. And I'm also a member of the National Cartoonist Society. I'm in the Florida chapter, I think Central Florida chapter.
Yes.
Go Gators. I don't know.
Go Gators. Do you have like a thing like you do that or something like that?
It's more like but I would be remiss if I did not introduce the Tower of Power, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the maestro of mark making, the miraculous, the magnificent, the mercurial, Mr. Mike Manley.
Hello, everyone.
Well, hello.
I have drawn your childhood.
How many daily
right now?
How many daily strips do you do, Mike?
I do 2 daily comic strips. Judge Parker and the Phantom, who is about to turn, I think he's about to turn 90.
Wow. That's wild.
Next year. Yeah, I think it's 90 next year.
He's been slamming evil for some time now.
Yeah, he's been, he should be able to get his AARP jungle card,
Dude,
the local jungle Denny's.
I'll get the Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity.
That's right, exactly.
At Jungle Denny's. It's funny, Mike. When I turned 50 on the nose, I got an AARP packet. They don't waste any time.
They've been chasing me for a long time, but they got me.
I mean, if I could get a coupon, it would hurt.
I was like out there looking through my window. Hey, Mike.
But you know what? I went up and joined. Like, I guess I don't know if it's an MLM scam or some sort of pyramid scheme. Like, I'm not selling soap or anything like that. But I get a very nice newsletter with very old-looking celebrities on the cover. Like Jamie Lee Curtis was on the last one. She's holding up. But Stallone was on one a couple of months ago.
Oh my God!
He looks like somebody pushed him through a time tunnel. Like his whole shit is like pushed back. It's crazy.
He's on that HGH.
Is that what it is? Like his skin looks real. You ever look at a model? Like, have you ever been like behind the scenes of a model shoot, like you would be? Like sometimes you'll see like the models have like clips on the back of their clothes, like kind of tight, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Tightening them in. I think he might have that in the back of his head. Pulling his skin.
I'm sure he's had facelifts and like scrubs and all, Botox and all kinds of stuff.
Let's not pretend that we don't spend quite a bit of time in makeup chair before we go live on Wednesday night.
God, hours to get this,
Yeah,
hours.
brother. You know how we do it.
2 stout workmen currently holding parts of my face.
With the theater sandbags in the back.
They come up with the entire Westmore family is working the makeup on my beautiful face.
That's so funny, Mike.
At the movie credits, like every movie is like the makeup is done by one of the Westmores. I think they've been doing it forever.
What was that old vaudeville gag, or like in the old black and white movie, somebody would yell makeup and somebody get hit with the big powder? Right. Like, I don't know why that was.
Big powder puff.
Yeah, makeup. Guys, yes, James, it is what the people want. Guys, welcome back to Pencil to Pencil. We're going to jump right in it. Everybody's feeling good. I hope that you had a decent Thanksgiving, if you celebrate, if you whatever. I hope you were, at least in good spirits. I like to say this all the time that the holidays are rough for some people, and it's not super joyous for everybody. So I try to stay even and just say, well, I hope you were cared for wherever you were. And we hurtle, scream into the future, you guys. We're almost at the end of this year. So you're three expert cartoonists. We commiserated. We came together. We formed a kind of like a three-armed Voltron to figure out what we're going to do for the end of the year, and we're going to come back with our recap episode. I know you guys love that. This might be the third year we're doing a wrap-up episode, but that's going to come in a couple weeks. But tonight we thought that we would grace you with one of my favorite things. As a cartoonist. Hold on, I got too many things on the screen. As a cartoonist. So this is another episode where you get to ask your expert cartoonist whatever you want. Hopefully, it's in the cartooning realm, because I say this all the time. How many people do you know in your life that are actual working full-time cartoonists? Right? I don't know. Mike's like, I don't know any of them. Right, and I also love that our as Deep Parson calls us, the pencil pushers who hang out in the chat. We're kind of preaching to the choir a lot, right? Because a lot of kind of like our demographic are other cartoonists, which is what I really love the most. So there could be a thing of, oh, you know what? Yeah, I know all that stuff. Yeah. But there's also some other things that aren't always covered. Kind of like besides what kind of pencil do you use? It's like, yo, what do you do when you get a pinched nerve for the 5th time in a year? Whatever. So we're letting this open to the community to give us some good questions tonight. Our good buddy Joseph says, time to sharpen those pencils, two pencils, yes. And also, America, this is you. Tom Zoller says, to be fair, he knows a surprising number of cartoonists. It's funny that Tom says that because we kind of prompted him. It's funny when you kind of, I don't know how much you guys talk about cartooning outside of our circles, Mike and Steve. But, sometimes I say things like, oh, you know what? One of my cartoon friends. And it sounds like I'm like talking to myself in a padded room. But it's like your colleagues and your cohorts are other cartoonists. So, it's funny to just say that in mixed company. They're like, wait, what? Are you even real? So maybe I'll start there. Steve and Mike, when you're out in the world or kind of just dealing with other people, like I know sometimes Mike talks about, like, his, like say he might go to a doctor's appointment and the doctor's like, oh man, I love Dark Hawk, or oh man, that's so great. How often do you talk about cartooning with people who aren't cartoonists in your just daily walking life?
You want to jump on that one, Mike?
Well, besides maybe my doctors, never, because I'm never out and I'm always working. I'm never out and about and going around, and if you go out to the movies or something, you're not really talking to people. So,
well, what about Mike? What about even this? Maybe even kind of commiserating with people online, because I know you share a lot of art, and that also brings in people who are like, oh wow, I remember that, or oh wow, that was my favorite X. And do you get a lot of kind of questions once in a while from people? And how do you frame those?
I not often. I think, social media is sort of going through, I think, a downgrade in a way, a change, because I do share a lot. And I do have conversations on Facebook because it's the one that's the easiest to have conversations with. And the people tend to be older, so they tend to like to have conversations. But on my other socials, I post stuff and rarely, someone will like something or they'll make a comment. But I just think everybody is kind of burnt on social media, maybe. Also, maybe it's what I'm into because, I see a lot of stuff, but I don't read any current comics. I just see stuff online. And then if I like something, I tend to buy it at the, like when a trade will come out. But no, I would not say you have a lot of, I have a lot of conversations And that
I'm trying to think of the last time it happened. I think I was I had that leg injury, so I was at doing physical therapy, and someone was there. Was I think the topic what I did came up. Like I'm a cartoonist, and they were all about Lore Olympus. So they were webtoons readers, and I was like, oh, you must have seen the Netflix series. It's like, what? The Netflix? So I don't know. There's people out there who are super into this stuff, and you just would never expect it. But I don't. It doesn't come up that often. I mean, I don't think most people talk about anyone else's job. It doesn't come off very often in at the supermarket or at the coffee shop, unless you're sitting there drawing, in which case you're begging for questions, I think, at that point.
Yeah, I mean, most people don't really talk about art. Just in general, I think that's one of the least discussed subjects amongst the people. Like they might talk about movies or something, but they generally talk more about celebrity. And if it's something about art, it's just like, oh, I heard a painting the other day, it sold for $40 million, but people don't really talk about, they don't even talk about music.
Right.
You know, I just don't think that we have a culture that is full of art, but we don't really appreciate art, and we don't really talk about art. We talk about celebrity, and we talk about money, and when they talk about a movie, you might say, "Oh, it was a good movie," but usually, good movie means it made like $1 billion,
right?
So, and I think the average person just doesn't have the language or the interest to talk about it in that way.
Are you going to say something, Steve?
No. How about you, Jamar? What's your take on it?
Well, I don't know. Maybe I was trying to lead a question here, but I guess I'm different because I'm always talking about this stuff. Just in mixed company, or even the neighbors are always interested in what I'm doing, or hey, what's the next thing, or oh, blah blah blah. So when's the next book coming out? Like that even happened at Halloween, where kids came up, and then like the dads who, for some reason, maybe I might have to segue this. Why are dads getting? Why are you, as a parent, why are you getting drunk, taking your kid down the street on Halloween? Like everybody had a beer in their hand. I don't know. That's maybe that's something that we need to deconstruct. But it's just like, yeah, it was like holding a tall boy walking down the street with his kid in a wagon.
Wheelbarrow?
I was about to say a wheelbarrow.
Kids already drunk. Hey, Dad, push me in a wheelbarrow.
So, but it's kind of like, oh, hey, did your next book come out? No, it's coming out next year. Well, very cool. See you. Happy Halloween. Like that's kind of neat to me, And I think
it's like a talking point though, because again, that's something that they can intersect with you, because otherwise they couldn't really talk to you about the stuff because they don't know anything about it.
Right.
It's more like I don't want to talk about it, because if someone thinks you're a cartoonist, they'll want to talk to you. I find they'll want to talk to you, and then I have to find a new place to hang out and get my work done, because they're going to want to chit chat, and they don't realize that writing a comic requires a certain amount of just being completely in your own head.
So there's a part of this that we need to address, that there's a kind of a thing you keep to yourself. Like you don't want to be bothered, or you don't want people to know what you're up to or what you're doing, so you can kind of stay in your head. Is that kind of what you're saying? Huh, that's interesting. Tom Zoller, who might be the MVP of the night, early, he's scoring a triple-double in the chat. TZ says, in the village I live in, I'm known as the cartoon guy. My dad lives here too, so I can't be old man Logan. Right? So it's, I don't know. That's kind of a community thing. Like, wherever you live, if you kind of rub off with people, that they're going to know, unless you don't want to talk about it at all. I think it's cool. And once in a while I get, what would you say? What did they say? Not discover, like recognized. Sometimes once in a while I get recognized, and that's always fun. What up, George Gant? Read Beware a Toddler. George Gant says, making comics requires concentration. Can someone come over here and tell my family? So, well, as some questions start loading in, I saw a couple of them. Maybe let's talk about that. Now, I know we all have different kind of like house situations, but how do you separate church and state, you guys? Like, it could not necessarily be about you have to close your door and shut it, but maybe you don't answer the phone after a certain time, or you don't, the phone rings and you're not picking up because you're busy. Do you have office hours for yourself in a way that you can't be disturbed for a moment of your day, or do you kind of let yourself get distracted during the day?
I do that by they're like a coffee shop I'll go to, and they've got Wi-Fi, but I will not ask them the password. That's a place I go to be off the grid. You know what I mean? I've got my phone with me in case something emergency I have to respond to, but being away from the internet, being away from social media, being away from any possible distraction. I have to check, how's my Kickstarter doing? How many subscribers do I have on the YouTubes? There's so many things that I could be checking on and but being able to just lock myself in a place and just be able to write is just so important. And man, I don't know any other way to do it except to be away from all, be away from my cat, being away from the environment where I have to do things, where I've got chores to do. Locking myself away really helps.
Mike, what about you? Are there periods where you're just like, I'm not answering the phone, or I just got to get this done?
I never answer the phone unless it's somebody I know.
Well, that goes without saying.
I never answer the phone. My phone tells me if it's spam. So if it's you or Steve or Brett or my mom or a friend, I'll answer it. Otherwise, I never answer my phone. Right? Because it's never anybody I want to talk to.
You don't know that.
It's never anybody I want to talk to. And
that'll be my resolution.
Go ahead, buddy.
I was going to say my office hours are my waking hours. So when I wake up, I have my coffee and I do my little social media thing in the morning, and then I work, and I take a break here or there. Then I basically work until I go to bed. So my schedule is still at least 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So.
Do you wake up at a certain time to try to hit some sort of, you want to be up in time for this sort of event, or you want to be up when the sun comes up, or just whenever you feel like?
Yeah, it varies. Like this morning I was up at 5 and I went to bed at like 11. I was tired yesterday. Because the day before, because I had to get the Phantom in, I went to bed about 3:30, and I was up at 7. I got like 4 hours sleep because the holidays and everything being short and everything, so I had to get stuff in, and then I usually like wind down. Like I was trying to watch Space 1999, which is a horrible show. It's just horrible. It is so friggin' weird. Some of the acting and the scripts make no sense. But so I've been trying to watch. Because I remember watching it as a kid. But,
yeah.
Man, this is not making any sense. This is not like somebody was smoking something when they wrote this.
I always love the logos, like space.
Yeah, it's all. It always looks like it's going to be really cool. It's got a cool theme, like Doctor Who. But again, Doctor Who's one of those things I could just never get into. Yeah. So the majority of my waking hours are spent working.
there's a couple of comments coming in, and like I said, what do I say all the time, Steve Conley? The chat is lousy with cartoonists. D Fish, what up, D Fish? D says I have absolutely zero idea how to separate work and not work life. Well, my best way to get work done uninterrupted is when no one else is around, and that kind of pushes us into bad sleep habits. Because I know, like, when the world goes to sleep around 10:30, 11 o'clock, that's a lot of time where you kind of get your zooms in, right? The phone stops ringing, you know, everything starts to slow down. It's quiet, and that's kind of when you get your stuff. Almost like elf time. We're like on elf time. Like you go to sleep and wake up and there's shiny new shoes at the foot of your bed.
Yeah, you get the advice your partner every day. Don't stay up too late. Don't stay up too late.
Yeah.
Don't stay too late. Okay, I will. That's what I always say. Don't worry, I will. When I was living with someone, then that mediated things. When I was teaching, that mediated things, because when I was teaching, I'd have to be, when I was in school, right? I would be days I'd be in school, and so I wouldn't work until I came home, or, there were times where I was like in school and teaching at the same day. So I'd go down in the morning, I'd have my class, and then I'd have my evening class. So I'd be up at like 6:30, and I'd come home at midnight. So to me, it's all, since art is my life and it's what I like to do, and also what I have to do in order to be able to produce the work, the deadlines are what drive it. I'm sure if I was living with someone again, then that would mitigate things, because then you would want to have time to be with your significant other. But or if I was teaching, then there would be days where I wouldn't be working. But since I'm single and I'm no longer teaching, it's basically, in fact, I picked up an extra freelance job. I'm trying to work on an animated thing. So, and it's also what I like to do. I mean, it's not like someone is forcing me to do it. There's a certain, like, yesterday, you got to burn the midnight oil to make sure that you get the job in. But, if I was not doing the strips and I had won the lottery, let's say, and I could just do whatever, I would probably still work 10 hours a day, because it's what I like to do. Right. Like some people are different, they want to go travel the world, and, like that would be fun, go on a trip. I've done that. I've gone on trips, but I'm not the kind of guy that would like go stay in a cabin for 3 weeks, or like go stay on a beach and like lay there and read a book. That's boring to me. That's not something I'm interested in. If I was at a beach, I would be wanting to paint
it. A grain of sand at a time. No, I'm with you on that. And a lot of times when we have the program, and some things always kind of show up again in the questions. It's kind of like, do you know how to relax? Is one of my favorite cartoonist questions. Like, can you even allow yourself to just sit on your hands and like not be doing something? And it's hard for a lot of us to just, especially if you have like a family or a partner or something, where that balance is kind of really obvious, when you're just like, oh, well, he won't stay there for long. Like, just start the movie. He ain't showing up. You know what I mean? Like, people in your life know how you are, and it's not a secret, Like
I think I was with my lady for about like 7 or 8 years, and she saw me relax, and she took a photograph. Because it was like, she hadn't seen it before.
Did she put a mirror under your nose and make sure you're still breathing?
I think it's just different for artists, because most people that I know that are cartoonists, many of them are the same way. I mean, especially if you do like a strip or something, I mean, you have to produce a volume of work. So, I read a Siberia interview where he basically said, he works 6, 7 days a week. That's just the nature. Now maybe again, if you had a strip where it took you 3 days to write it, but you could draw it in a day because the style was, fairly simple. Well, then that might be different. But if you're doing like a heavily referenced realistic strip, you can't. You gotta, just like this week, like there were scenes with people inside jail cells, and just like trying to compose the figures behind the
bars.
The bars.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was like this a couple of days. It was just like you're because they're interacting with the people on the other side of the bars. So you're trying to get the gesture, and then you're trying to get the face so you can see what you're trying to do. Oh man, it's like some days it's just what you're trying to draw is like just requires time, requires effort. It never, if you're doing a good job, it never gets easier. Right. You can do it easier than you did it before. Right. Like you can draw a hand better, or you can draw a face better, or you're an addict. But sometimes you're working on a shot, you're working on a panel, and it's not easy.
And even and if it's a project that you finish, let's say it's something that's not a daily strip, let's say it's a book you've completed or a comic strip you've completed, you can be thinking that I should be lining up the next gig. I should be promoting the current gig. I should be promoting the next thing. What else should I be doing? Should I be on another social media? Should I be learning how to animate? Should I be learning how to sculpt? Does my website need a refresh? There's just so much so the idea of relaxing it all feels like falling behind.
Oh yeah. Because the thing is, as an artist, if you're working for Disney takes care of everything. Because you're working for Disney, so Disney's name's going on it, not yours. You get a little credit at the end. Goes by in 1 second, right? But if you're an independent artist, you're right. Like my website is horribly out of date, but in a way it doesn't matter because nobody goes and looks at my website anyway. And even if it was brand spanking new, it's basically just a placeholder. More people see my stuff on my socials. But again, I'm weighing now with what's happened, and nobody's using hashtags and the way they work the algorithms against you. It's like, what are you getting? Are you getting any real return? We're all sort of feel like we have to do it. Because if we don't do it, then nobody knows what you're doing. But I sort of feel at the same time, it's really a diminishing return for just about everybody.
And guys, hold on, I gotta do some shot. Guys, remember the theme of this episode. It's Ask the Cartoonists, not watch the cartoonists just talk to each other because no one's asking us questions. Ask us some questions. Our good buddy Joseph says, how do you cartoonists feel about the use of upper and lowercase lettering? I am on a big project that has it, especially you, middle-aged Steve Conley. You deal with it a great bit. How do you guys feel about case-sensitive lettering and modern cartooning, you guys?
I like it. I think it depends on the project. If I want it to feel like it's a classic comic book, I'll do all caps. But by and large, I prefer upper and lower case. It gives me more greater character count. It lets me emphasize words in a different way by, in addition to a word being bolded and italicized, suddenly it's all caps. That also can mean something. All caps, when we're typing and texting, all caps almost means yelling. So I think you can interpret that. You can add those kind of modern typographic treatments to the comics you're doing. At least that's how I use it. So I like the flexibility of it. I am a huge fan of Walt Kelly and Pogo, and the idea that characters have different fonts to kind of help indicate the accent or the melody of how that character's speaking. And also a big fan of Todd Klein and the idea that different word balloons might be colored differently, and using that effect in my comics as well, and combining those things. So I feel like, to say all caps, I know some of my characters speak all caps, but that's because they're generally dragons. They're bigger. They have, but when they take a human form, suddenly it's upper and lower case again. So to me, I'm using it intentionally. And so that's the main reason why I try to do anything, is that there's a storytelling reason for it. So that's where I come at it.
Mike, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, in the case, the two strips, the lettering is, I'm using the same font that everybody else used before. I'm just following in the established style of the strip. I mean, if you were drawing, another comic or another strip, and you wanted to use handwriting for a diary, or you wanted to use a different kind of balloon or a different kind of font because somebody was a monster, or, to emphasize something about the character, I think that's fine. I don't think there's any wrong answer. It's just, lettering is one of the things where I think form follows function. What do you need the lettering to do? If you just, like in the case of Judge Parker or the Phantom, you just want people to read it. So occasionally there's a bold letter,
Sure.
But other than that, the only difference is, sound effects.
Yeah, I have a character called Kevin the Illegible, and he uses black letter font, so you could barely read what he says. But that's kind of the gag. That's
Right.
the bit.
Yeah.
That character is it. So that I love having the fonts kind of be really a key part of the comic.
I seem to remember they did that in Swamp Thing. He had like a different, because he would think, he didn't talk. So, but he was, he's a monster. So they did something to the word balloon. Then I think they did something to the lettering, bolded the lettering or something like that. So
I'm kind of an old school all caps guy. I really am. And not that I read a lot of, big two books anymore, but when Marvel switched to the case sensitive, it kind of bothered me. I don't know why. And also I feel like the point size got smaller.
It definitely did.
That's okay. So that wasn't me, right? It seems like the artists are drawing for a lot of space for the word balloons, but it just seems like everything, like the word balloon is the same, but it's just like the type is smaller.
Yeah,
and it doesn't flow to me.
I see what you're saying. I totally feel the same thing, because it felt like with comics, the all caps was part of the kind of bigger than life story. And suddenly when the words got smaller, and I never bothered, the upper and lowercase never bothered me at all in like Sandman or any other, or an indie comic, but something about Marvel Comics and the bright colors and the bigger than life characters, and then suddenly upper and lowercase text, it's almost feels like are they all whispering to each other?
Right.
It feels a little off. I mean, because I was trained to look at it this other way. Now I see it in the new way. So maybe a new reader might not come to it with that kind of perspective.
Mm-hmm. Sorry. And so I mean, that just kind of bugged me, like just from an aesthetic point. It just seemed like, and maybe I wasn't reading everything, but it seemed like I only noticed it in Spider-Man comics. And I still don't like it. Like I just bristle against it. And even in my own stuff, even like with the Scholastic books, that was a question that they asked, like, what case are we doing this in? I was like, all caps, hello, that's just, for me having this kind
comic stands, hello,
whiz bang for the win. I got you with that, Steve. I think I actually sent dude who made Whiz Bang, like I put money in Ron Every, I think his name was. I put money in an envelope and sent it to Ron Every who uses font. So, but yeah, that's just me. And, you know, I don't know if maybe I see that a lot in like kids' work where it kind of makes more sense. And also, I've seen some people bristle against using like bold, like putting some things in bold because was it Terry? Was it Terry? I remember somebody was getting heat because they didn't understand how they were adding bold words inside a word balloon to kind of give emphasis to a thing. Like they thought they were talking like that for no reason, you know. And it's all, I guess, part of the comics, part of speech that's starting to slowly change into something else.
I think people are actually. I know Tony and Paul and I have talked about this. I think since I've been doing the strips, a lot of people have sort of forgotten how to read a comic strip, which was just sort of common. Everybody, you know, for 50, 60 years, 70 years, people didn't seem to have trouble. But in the last 10 years, you get a lot of that where people don't know how to, they don't actually know how to, they don't actually read them in order. They jump around. They also, the modern reader is very impatient. And so one of the comments you get is like, well, when is the story going to be over? They're like trying to guess. They want to try to jump ahead all the time in the storyline.
With the cheat code. Yeah.
Instead of enjoying the story, right? And I think comic strips are very slowly paced because you get only one a day. And people are very impatient and they want to know, like, well, okay, what's going to happen next week? What's going to happen in 2 weeks? And even Comics Kingdom started doing that thing where if you subscribed, you could see 2 weeks worth of strips.
Really?
Yeah. You can see
so
this.
You can binge a strip, basically.
You can see this week's strip, but you can see also next week's strips.
Are any of those people spoiling it for the people reading now?
I don't know because I never look at comments.
Yeah, I'd be my worry.
If they are, they are. I mean, one of the things I don't do, and I completely stopped, is looking at any of the comments. I don't want to know because usually it's nothing positive. It's usually just people kind of being assholes on the message board. So I don't look at. I may only look at something for reference, but otherwise I never look. So I don't know. I generally go by the feedback I get on Facebook. Like when I post the strips, I get feedback from people. Now, these are people that like to read the strip and appreciate the fact that I post them in black and white. So I feel like I get an honest feedback from those people because they've been following the strip, and as opposed to people who sort of use the message boards tend to use any subject as a way to be a springboard to make some kind of joke. You know, it's about them. It's about the commenter, not the subject.
Right.
James says, people looking for the too long didn't read of a comic is wild. That is diabolical, isn't it? I don't know. Just like, tell me what happened.
Yeah. I mean, it really is very, very common now. And I think it's because people really, because of social media and because of everything, I think people are just, in general, people are very impatient. You know, we have that binge mentality. You know, you get your show on Netflix and you binge the whole thing, you watch it all. And people sort of want that. They want the whole story. They want the whole thing. They want to know what's going to happen. You know, it's definitely not something that I had to deal with most of my career as a cartoonist. But it's definitely something that is sort of like almost the default for most people who read stuff online now.
Yeah, that's just, I was just watching this thing about how, hey guys, remember when you would get DVDs in the mail from Netflix? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
It almost seems like that never happened. But that was what, 15 years ago? Not even that.
No, not that. Because
not even that.
I think they stopped like right after the pandemic.
Well, just thinking about how when we hit that button on when the internet was fast enough and the stuff was fast enough and you could watch something without seeing that countdown circle every 5 seconds to do something, and it kind of divided us. And you really saw how people's attention spans even got worse with like the introduction of binge watching. I think murdered our society. I really do.
Kids like to binge graphic novels, right? That's one of the things they like about graphic novels. You get a big fat. They don't want to read a floppy. They don't want to read like 22 pages. They want to read a whole big fat.
The whole John.
Yeah, right. Whole John. Nothing but the John.
One thing I do love, and I haven't been there in a while, is Book Off, which is a Japanese used bookstore chain. That there's a big one in New York, where you can go downstairs to the manga basement, and you can get like almost a whole ass run of manga, like maybe 40 volumes, and like it is all like plastic wrapped, and wow. You can walk out of it with that like a sniper suitcase. But yeah, no, I agree with that, and people just want it all. They want it all. What up, Ray? Ray says, I love Book Off. That's part of my New York loadout. Every time I go to New York City, I got to take a trip to Book Off. Then I walk down the street to Kinokuniya, right across from Bryant Park. I got to hit it. Get me some Japanese treats and do some light shoplifting. No, I'm kidding. All right, so here's some other questions. TZ asked us when we were talking about how you relax. Also, what's your non-work stuff is essential? Do you work out? Do you have time to read or watch TV or take a walk? Well, I know even Mike, you kind of watch TV, like probably to maybe turn the wattage down, but also you're studying, right? Because every time you talk about something you watch, you kind of break it down too. From a storytelling.
I watch TV only at night when I go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch any TV during the day. I completely stopped watching any of the news or any. So I watch TV at night. Like if I don't go back to work tonight, I'll have something to eat and then I'll just chill and watch. Try to watch Space 1999 again. And so that's what I do. Or like when I get up in the morning, I'll tend to do the exercise in the morning. When I was used to go out and go to the gym, I would go out and go to the gym at night after I worked. But that was before COVID. So now I try to do my workout in the morning and then, get into the studio. And again, it's all dependent upon everything in my life is dependent upon the deadline.
Right.
Do I have to get something into the syndicate? Do I need to get some strips over to Mimi to draw some, backgrounds or to color Judge Parker, or, do I need to get a commission out? I mean, everything in my life revolves around the deadline, right? And so I know I have at least 3 deadlines every week. One for the judge for the dailies, one for the Phantom for the dailies, and one for the judge for the Sunday. And so, again, everything is flexible. I might have, like, I've picked up this other job to do a little freelance, so I worked on that a little bit today. I got a commission to do. Some days you just gotta like mop your kitchen and do laundry, or go through that pile of bills. It's like you just sort of break it up.
I'll say, and on top of all the stuff we talk about, and also, even Mike just said he logs a lot of hours in the chair. We all do, right? All cartoonists do, and I think if you kind of lined us all up and asked how long do you work every day, and you'd be astonished by how big the number is. I think one thing that is really important these days is that you kind of got to take breaks, just even for your health, you know what I mean, or your back or whatever. You got to take breaks, and working out is a really good thing. I walk the dog a lot, and that's also where I kind of clear my head and try to figure out what's next or what's next in the day. And sometimes I'll find that moment where I look over and the dog's like, "Bro, what are you even doing?" And I'm like, "All right, let's go." You know what I mean? And that's good for me too. Like I call it my fat bit on my Fitbit. There's a little thing on there that'll buzz and go, "Yeah, you need to get up and like move." Like
Are you dead? Are you dead? You shock your heart, shock your pacemaker.
Right. So just part of all this is like I don't know if any of you also have time blindness. There's also some tism in there, or some ADHD, or some things mixed in there, where you get to working and you look up and like your kids are coming home from school.
I forgot
to eat.
Yeah.
Where did kids come from?
Did I have lunch today? Did I eat today? What's going on there? Absolutely.
That's real. And you might have somebody who, like, say your partner comes home and goes beyond, like, they don't want to get inundated.
Take a shower.
Have you showered? When's the last time you showered? I mean, in case you need to get asked that. It's probably because they smell you before they get to the house.
Ding dong. Your neighbor called. Have you showered?
I thought that was the smell ringing the doorbell, like the old, like. Wow. Yo, Ray says notorious for time blindness. Ask my wife. See, did you eat anything? Oh shit, no, I forget. Right, it happens. So rather than just kind of like being victim to your own time,
we all need an Alfred. We all need an Alfred to come and make us some food and sew up the welts on our back from cartooning.
Yeah, and one of my
or boils.
Like a consistent failing of mine as a partner is that I just go in the office. I got to do something for 5 minutes, and oh no, I come out and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I have to lead with I'm sorry. If there was a flower shop between my office and the living room, they would do bank. They would be fine.
You're like Rod Taylor. You're looking up as the things rot and fall like a time machine.
I could do this. I could do more work. I could. Yeah.
Wasn't there some musician I heard, this is a while ago, who had a Starbucks in his mansion? Like he had a barista that would come in and like just work, and, like off the kitchen, and he'd come by and get like a half calf or whatever. Like we need to set up like a Teleflora branch inside your apartment.
But the fact is that anybody who is a highly creative musician or an artist or a painter or a sculptor or a cartoonist, you love to do it, and some days you don't love to do it, but you have to do it. It's just one of the requirements of the job, and it's either you have a kind of personality that fits it, as I'm always saying, or if your personality does not fit it, that's where you're going to have the trouble, right? That's where you're going to run into trouble, because if you have a job that requires you to work 10 effective hours a day and you can only make 5, you're going to be in trouble. and the older I get, the more I realize that really one of the only reasons why I could do this job because of exactly the right type of personality to do it. And if you don't, like there's guys who are always having deadline problem, guys who are always not making deadlines, or always, fucking off and doing stuff because they're
you almost got Steve with that one, yeah.
There was guys at Marvel and DC back in the day who people loved their work or whatever. They could never make a deadline, So
Mike,
I really do feel that you have to have the right personality, and if you do, it makes everything else sort of like falls right into place.
So guys, we're having a great time with this episode of Ask the Cartoonist. You see, I'm doing some subliminal messaging tonight.
You're like Mr. Peabody.
And I also want to just give us and you guys a warning. We're going to try to keep wrapping it at an hour and a half mark. So don't wait to the very last minute and start asking a bunch of questions after you've been just chilling for the whole session, and then you're like, oh, tight. We gotta go. So I want to get to some questions that I've been banking over here. Our good buddy Dom Gomez has a really cool thing he's about to do and asks us for some advice. Dom says, been prepping for a talent hunt that's going to start next week. What would you recommend brushing up on in the meantime? And I asked him in the chat, can you explain what you're doing? Because I was a little confused. And he said he's about to enter a comic book studio talent, kind of like a talent submission thing, where they're going to get a script and then he's got to like bang out pages. What kind of gymnastics should Dom be doing in preparation for getting the script next week and starting to lay out pages?
Well, does he know what the like is it Superman or Batman or Independent? Does he know what it is?
I don't want to put it all out in the street so people don't flood his opportunity. But he knows what studio it is, but I don't think he knows what the script is. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's any genre expectations, brushing up on the genre would be the right thing to do. Like Mike's saying, it's going to be Space Vistas. You should be looking at your Al Williamson, or got to draw horses. I wish you luck.
Yeah, no, that's so. Like, let's say it's a superhero studio, like where you're probably going to be drawing like like Wildcats type stuff. Like, what kind of prep should Dom be doing, to kind of brush up on getting a really great job in ahead of time? Should he be like studying composition, looking at team books, looking at old John Byrne X-Men issues? Like, I don't know. What do you think? Dom just said Witchblade and Darkness, so it's Top Cat.
Okay.
I suppose if I was going to try out for some Witchblade stuff, I would look at some Witchblade stuff. maybe sketch the character. One of the things about drawing a character that's hard in the beginning is it doesn't live in your head, right? Like certain characters live in your head. Like Spider-Man lives in my head, Captain America, Batman, Superman. All those classic characters live in my head. I read them as a kid. I'm reading them all, 60 years, right? So if I have to sit down and draw Superman, it's not a problem. Superman's all the way up here, right? If I had to draw Witchblade, I'd be like, isn't that chick with the spiky shit, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't live in my head. So I would be doing a lot of drawings of the character studies, gesture drawings, to try to get the feel your feel of the character, because one of the hard things about a job about comics can be is that when you're younger, you jump around. You get this job, you get that job, you get this job, you get that. Like, I was doing layouts on Conan and penciling Conan the King, and then I was drawing John Sable freelance, and then I was drawing or laying out stuff on Evangeline. Then I was, doing like a Muppet Babies thing, and then I was doing, the beginning of my career, I was like all over the place.
You're all over the place, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, none of that stuff lived in my head. None of it, right? Maybe Conan, but so I think you have to spend time drawing the character.
Yeah, and not knowing the environment in which that test is going to take place, I'd say make sure you collect reference. Like if they're going to get you, they're going to email it to you at noon. You have to deliver it the next day at noon. And often comics and genres are often kind of a set of expectations. People they'll judge it not based on its inherent worth, but what they were expecting to receive. And so having a sense of what they're expecting and draw to that, then that's going to satisfy them the most.
I was real quick. I was thinking about like the Top Cow definitely has a style to it. And I think if you want to try to, I don't know, turn some necks there, you should try to see how you can match that style as much as possible.
Well, there's two ways to do that, though, because I think if you're just trying to match that style, then it ends up being sort of generic, right? I remember when I tried out for Captain Canuck when I was a teenager. I talked about this before on the podcast, and so I did some sort of George Freeman-esque samples and sent them in. And George was very nice and sent me back the best critique I probably ever got. But one of the things in there was like they basically did not want a clone of George. Right? Now there's the Image style, but if 50 guys turn in Image style, then you're just one of people sort of doing Image style, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you can't really fake that. It's got to, the pages have got to come out of you. And so it's got to go through your internal filter. Otherwise, it's going to just look awkward if it's, in someone else's shaped form.
Well, hold on. But, any other time I would agree with you guys. But I just think every time I think about Top Cow stuff, I just think about Silvestri's line work, which is very elegant and like the line weights that usually like 8 pins and stuff. There's a thing there. Yeah. So do you think it would work against Dom to go left? Trying to, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to make sure this looks nothing like Top Cow.
I would say.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I mean?
I would say that if you are true, if you draw something that you want to see, right? If you draw something that you want to see, and you're influenced by Mark's stuff, then you'll end up doing something that's more unique. I always think of Mike Mignola in this case because Mike's work was always a little different. And that worked for him and against him, right?
Yep.
In the short term, when you're in the X-Men office and everybody wants to see shit that looks like Rob Liefeld or Jim Lee, well, that's not what Mike does, right? But it ended up working for him because his work had a unique personality to it. And so he basically made his own brand. And I think that if you try, that's the hard thing in the beginning because you want work and you want to try to impress people. But I think if your work is too generic or too third tier Image, it's not going to give them anything that they haven't already seen. So you might actually do better to try to put a different spin on the ball.
I feel like if that genuine quality of yourself, and also the I would say, it sounds like in the comments that a Sylvester Adam Hughes vibe with my samples sounds like a really smart thing. You're introducing the Adam Hughes bit to the recipe, which is going to already set it apart from just pure Silvestri clone. Mm-hmm. And then the filter of yourself, and just deliver. And as long as the samples show, because that's basically a promise. The samples that you're going to send them is going to say, this is what I can do for you. Right. This is what I can deliver for you. So if you can work that way, and that's the way you like to work, then that's great. I think that, because you might don't turn in a Sistine Chapel if you can't deliver a Sistine Chapel every week.
Well, it's like if you're drawing, there's all these great Spanish and Mexican guys that do Disney comics, right? And each guy's got a little bit of a slightly different spin on the ball, but they're great. But you're drawing Mickey Mouse and you're drawing Donald Duck, right? And so it's got to be in that wheelhouse, right? But I would still say that if Mark saw something that looked really cool, but it didn't look like him, but it looked cool, he would be like, wow, that's cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know him, right? I mean, this is what you always deal with, a blind thing, right? I know a lot of young artists. My friend Mimi deals with this kind of stuff all the time. You get a test. You do a test. She just did a test for something. And then somebody goes, oh, by the way, there's 5 other people doing this test. And you're like, fuck, well, why didn't they tell me that in the beginning? Mm-hmm. All you can really do is try to do something that you feel is your best job and makes you excited.
And does the gig tell you the style that they want? Because most often when, like, you've gotten gigs, Mike, when they say, okay, we want you to draw in the style of the animated series, or we want you to draw, we don't want you reinventing the Powerpuff Girls. So you deliver anything that looks like Sienkiewicz's Powerpuff Girls.
Exactly. Right, exactly. It's not going to be Mobius's Powerpuff Girls, right? It's not gonna or Robert Crumb's Powerpuff Girls. Sorry, we're not going for that, Right, and I think that here's the thing. These are not the only pages you're going to do. They're not the only samples that you're going to do. And whether you get that job at Top Cow or not, if you have 5, 6, 7 pages of really good storytelling that are really cool, whether they hire you or not, you still got samples you can show to other people.
Right.
I think, it's always a risk when you do one of these blind things, because, they don't really give you a lot of information. If he said, he goes, I want somebody to take over, this book and do it in my style, that would actually be easier. Because, okay, specifically, like when I drew Superman Adventures, I'm drawing it in the style, more or less, of the TV show.
Right.
I know that. I'm not, I can put my own spin on the ball, right? But it's got to look like the TV show, right? It's not going to look like Adams.
Yeah, that's what the readers want.
Right, yeah. So you're a reader of Top Cow. What kind of art do you want to see on a Top Cow book?
Mm-hmm.
I just had this vision of was one of these daytime judge shows. I think it's called The Judges. There's like four people in robes at this tribunal, and they all kind of see a case at the same time. We should do that, but we'll do it at like boot camp. There's a lot of gavels going on. All right, thanks, Doc.
And then if you have some people you trust, friends you trust, or mentors you trust, show them the stuff and get the feedback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Don. Good luck with that. We have some more questions, and this is the magic of 3 expert cartoonists answering your questions. You see what's happening here? We're on brand. All right. So we have a couple more, then we're gonna lift up the landing gear. Our good buddy Tim Fielder. What up, Tim? Tim says, what is the lowest page count you guys think audiences would rock with these days? I was thinking 48 to 64 pages might work, like the bande dessinée style, the European album style comic are those amounts. So I'm assuming Tim is talking about kind of pitching or creating a new property. What's a good solid number of pages to have in this tome, you guys? What do you think? What's the lowest page count? Because I guess the lowest would be like floppies, right? Or even mini comics could be 8. So 48 to 64, is that good?
I mean, I don't know if there's any. I think it's basically dependent upon if you have a story that's only 12 pages, then you make it 12 pages. If you have a story that could be 300 pages and you could draw 300 pages, I don't think readers think pages, right? I think they think like, oh, that looks good. I want to see that. I want to buy that. But I myself I've never thought like, well, I don't want to buy that because it's 22 pages, right?
Right.
I would think that anybody who's not 50 years old would probably prefer, younger you are, they would probably prefer more pages than less pages. But I would say that, if you had a really cool book and it had pages and it looked great, people would be happy to buy 48 pages worth of stuff. I don't, that's my feeling. I don't think, like when I buy a graphic novel, I don't think like, oh, it has to be so many pages. Like one of the reasons I don't buy the floppies anymore is because I have too many floppies, right? And I would just rather, like when they reprint the Chris Samney Batman stuff, I would rather just buy that and get it all at one time.
Sure.
That's where I am. I'm not a collector of comics, right? In that way, like, oh, I want to have every issue of Spider-Man or whatever. I'm a collector of comics that I like the art.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to add it to complete my collection of the FF or something, right?
Yeah,
so for me, it's about whether I want to have it as a graphic novel, which is then I can just read the whole thing at one time. It's easier for me. So
I'm gonna hit the. Is that me? I'm gonna hit the ball across the net again because just 40 minutes ago we just talked about kids loving manga, right? And one of the things about manga, we even talked about it, is the size and style of it, but also the page count.
Yep.
So are we being disingenuous to say, because I think Tim's looking for like what is the right size of sandwich to
but
make?
what did I say?
Nowadays.
Age. Younger people like graphic novels and like a big fat graphic novels. Older people would buy a thinner volume if they really liked it. But I think if you're trying to appeal to 10 to 20-year-olds, they want like the Naruto thing, like they can get a big fat graphic novel. I think they would prefer that.
I agree with what you're saying, Mike, and I see the point of the manga point as well. I think if you're coming at this from a marketing standpoint, then those questions can matter. I don't know if that's marketing again. That also feels a little bit like trying to deliver what somebody wants and you don't know what they want. And I would say like what Mike was saying at the start, the story will dictate the length, and after that, none of it else really matters. Either you're padding the story or truncating the story and misshaping it in some way. I mean, let's say if this question stems from the thought of, I want to do a 10-book series, it's 10 different stories. So what's the right size before I start doing this? Because all of us had to decide the size of the thing before we started. I had to decide for a webcomic how big it was going to be because I knew one day I'd be printing them all. So I couldn't all make my comic panels all different wacky sizes. There had to be a size plan. So I feel like it can be 8 pages if that's the right size for the story, and it would work. then the question is, well, what are you selling it for? What format is it in? Do you want it as a hardcover? Do you want it as a floppy? Do you want it as a mini, as a zine? Oh, man, all those questions are, again, the right size, the story will tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know about starting with a size. It's like when helping USA Today start their website 35 years ago, they had a price before they had a product. They knew they wanted to charge X number of dollars per hour to access the website. They didn't know what they wanted to build, but they knew the price, and it was all weird. It's a cart before the horse question that I would need a lot more myself to think about answering it. Like if I was going to start a publishing company tomorrow, if that's the question, if you were starting a publishing company tomorrow, what size books would you make?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, okay,
signature of,
are they going to bookstores? Are they going in the newsstands? Are you giving away free? Are they full of ads? There's tons of questions.
And if you have a signature of 48 pages, but then you decided, well, I could use a couple more pages, so I'm going to make it 64. I mean, it's really minimum more money to add an extra, 12 pages. I mean, when you're printing a big book like that, it's not gonna suddenly make the book like twice as expensive. So I think I would lay it all out, and then when I had the story like just broken down, I go, oh, okay, this looks like 60 pages. Then you kind of have your whole thing. And I think if it's good, you will find an audience at any size, right? 100%. But I think younger people tend to want 200 pages or 100, and they like that because it's more fun. When you get a book, you get a whole big book. Older people are fine with paying $8 for fucking 22 pages. But kids,
there are Alex Ross fans who will pay a fortune for an 8-page story.
Yeah,
I couldn't really tell you the size before you had the story.
Cart before the horse, but I think it's a great question. Thanks, Tim. And this is what makes our little corner of the internet so special, right? Where else are you going to get this kind of advice from 3 expert cartoonists? I keep pushing that button tonight. Also, speaking of buttons, please hit the like button and also subscribe while you're at it. All of those things really help.
Now. Subscribe right now.
We'll wait. All this stuff helps our bottom line and helps us slowly march to a higher threshold of supporters. So thank you so much. Guys, we're going to start wrapping up, but we have one more question, and this is for Mike. Mike, you've been called to the hot seat. Our good buddy, Super D Parsons. Go read Rosebuds in your local newspaper, because there's still newspaper strip art is happening out here, and I love that. I'm here for it. D Parsons says, Mike Manley, can you explain this right personality thing you say all the time? You say it a lot, but never really define what that is. Can you put a button on that right now? What do you mean by the right personality?
The right personality is basically the kind of personality that will do anything that it takes in order to do this job. That's about as simple as, if you have the kind of personality that can't take criticism, if you have the kind of personality that can't focus, if you have the kind of personality that's difficult to work with, if you have the kind of personality that can't follow orders, if you have the kind of personality that just does not enjoy sitting down and tackling tough problems, just enjoy drawing, like sometimes you just enjoy drawing, the task of drawing a hand well, the task of drawing the tires on a car in the proper perspective, or inking a tree, or if you're the kind of personality that does this, right? Oh, you need to work up. You know, if you're like that, then that means that basically you decrease the opportunities, because if you're a negative person, you could be. I used to tell this story in the class as an example. If you're an angry negative person and you're waiting for the bus, the other people standing there waiting for the bus are like, "What the fuck is wrong with that person? This person is weird," you know. And so you might not talk to somebody, right? But if you're a nice person, you're, hey, good morning, how are you? Oh, you get in a conversation, blah, blah. You might find out, oh, there's an opportunity because you talk to that person and they go, you know, my friend is a publisher at such and such a place. Here's their contact information, right? But if you're a negative person, that won't happen. Or if you get it, you'll be like, well, that's not exactly the job that I want. This is not exactly the way I want the things to be done. You start qualifying things, you know. So I think that if you have the right kind of personality that allows you to sit there and work for an undetermined length of time, and you enjoy doing that, probably derive more pleasure out of that than just about anything else. If you have that kind of personality, it'll be easier for you to be successful as an artist. But if you don't have that kind of personality, it just you're going to grade up against the demands of the job. You know? And so I think that's what I mean. It's like you say yes. You have to, you know, you need to work on your anatomy. Yes. You need to work on your storytelling. Yes. You need to work on being more organized. Yes. You know, if you can say yes, you have the right kind of personality. If you take up the task, right? You say yes. You should only be saying, what is it that I have to do? Right. And it sounds simple, right? It sounds like it's a simple thing, but it isn't, because most people's personalities are not like that. Most people's personalities are not the kind that say yes. You know?
Just to, Mike can speak for himself, but just to piggyback on that, we talk about, this is almost like if there's like C4 vertebrae and things like that to the spine of this show. Things like what Mike talks about with the personality, it keeps ringing true the longer we do this show. Like when people show up and they go, I don't know what do you mean you sit in a chair for 18 hours a day and draw 2 comic strips? I can never do that. Well, you're showing what kind of personality you have right there. When you get a crit, we talked about crits not too long ago. You get a crit and all you do is make excuses. Or go, no, don't look at that. Don't look at that when I wasn't ready. Whatever. No, that's not what I meant. That you're showing your personality for this. You know, it's kind of like
practicing effectively. Like you can practice smart or you can practice dumb, right? If you know that you need to work on your anatomy, there's effective ways of studying your anatomy and ineffective ways of studying your anatomy. And often a student who is not improving in the way that they could isn't because their personality goes, oh yeah, I didn't study that this week. Oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that next week. Oh, I left my anatomy books at home. Right.
The chupacabra ate my homework.
Right. Exactly. And this is something that I came to from teaching and seeing, like, well, if you have 30 people, not all 30 people are going to be successful. Right. Why is it? And it's usually a combination of those things in that person's personality. They don't like to study. They would rather party. They're difficult to get along with. They're bad at communication. Well, that all comes down to your personality. If you're willing to bend to the task, right? No one ever questions it when it's sports, and they don't question it if it's music, or they don't question it if you're a doctor, because if you don't do those things, your music is terrible and everybody knows it. You can't be a doctor because you don't have good grades and you get drummed out of school, right?
Keep killing people.
Right, you kill people, but art is always that thing where people go, I'm going to be able to like circumvent all that stuff because it's my style, or I went to art school, or I bought all those books on art or whatever, but did you really ever study those books? I always say that all the bad artists have the same books that the good artists have. So what is it?
Right.
Yeah. That's it. You heard it here first. Right. And this is kind of why we do things like Ask the Cartoonist. Right. The stuff doesn't just happen all by itself. You know what I mean? And I'm really thinking about this three cartoonists in a row, not one row, 3 rows with gavels. I like that idea. And I was really happy we got to help Dom out too. What a really cool thing that we were able to kind of put our brain thrust into. But guys, we're going to start wrapping it up. That's going to be the end of our programming night. Thank you so much. Where does the time go, Steve Conley? I have no idea. But I hope you guys got something out of it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that for the millionth time, that when you were watching these things, rather, beyond just being a great part of the chat, please hit the like button. I don't know why I got to keep telling you all that. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the alarm bell for alerts. So when we go live, you know what we're going to do. Our buddy Ray Anthony Height, who just got some sort of really great, a prestigious award, a major award from the city of Compton, California, for being a fantastic human being. Thank you, Ray Anthony Height. Says, I love the idea. I think you guys are helping a lot of comic hopefuls. Yes. We are the King Ghidorah of cartooning. I love it. The 3-headed dragon. I love it. Yeah. So on our next boot camp, we're just going to electrify somebody if they bring whack pages. All right. So, guys, that's it. I think because I'm feeling good and we kind of lost last week for Thanksgiving, that I will do a coffee break with JN tomorrow. So if you are interested in watching me drink a cup of coffee from my mouth, please report back to your video scope at 9 p.m. EST tomorrow. Next week, we will be back with more programming at Wednesday, 8 p.m. EST. No idea what we're doing. But when we figure that out, you'll be the first to know. So, guys, thanks so much. Thank you for giving power to cartooning and to the love of creativity, and for doing what you love as a career is not as easy as it looks. To my co-host, thank you so much for your kinship and also for your white teeth. Let's get out of here. Guys, Cumberbatch said it too. Cumberbatch whispered in my ear when we were fighting Thanos, we're in the end game. So it would behoove you before we go into that cold night to wash those curvy hands. Oh, nice curvy hands. Good job. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for coffee break. Bye.